Hello and welcome to the Just Another Castle podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and with me this week here is Eli.
Hello, I'm here.
And Unoclay.
I'm making more dough than Charlie Chan and clocking more hoes than Ed McMahon.
Okay. I'm guessing it's an SNL reference.
My SNL meme for the week. There you go. You guys, the first person to write in and name the sketch gets a total high five from us for knowing your classic SNL riffs. So there you go. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Don't be too fantastic.
I got nothing exciting.
Kind of horrible.
That's my answer for everything. I'm like, yeah, nothing's great, nothing's good. Like, doesn't even matter what's going on. It's just like everything's in the middle of the road.
Eli, I don't know if you feel this way, but that's like the most Canadian thing I've ever heard someone say in my life. Like, I'm just like, yo, Canada, what up?
No, I think that's more of a me thing, because, like, I think my sisters or whatever, like, always give me that response, like, yeah, why don't you say anything else? It's like, I don't know. Nothing's particularly in one direction or the other. What do you want from me?
That's good. Well, that makes you a good host for the podcast because you're right in the middle. You're not like super angry, and hating on stuff like some members, and you're not like overly enthusiastic and fanboyish like other members. So.
That might be changing for today. So we'll get into what we've been playing. I'll start off with the Steam Link. So like I said before, I wanted a Steam Link so I can play my Steam games on my TV because my setup for playing Steam games now isn't comfortable enough, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. Unoclay's going crazy. So I got this thing because it was like 60% off, so I got it for like $30. I'm like, that's sweet. And I spent a couple hours setting it up, and I was actually impressed. I was able to get 60 frames per second. It's 720p, not 1080, but I couldn't notice the difference. And it basically worked perfectly. Both of my computer and the Steam Link are wired, so that obviously plays a big part into it. I doubt I'd be able to get that fast of a connection if one of them wasn't wired. But yeah, I'm happy with it. I was trying it out with older games that don't necessarily use hardware like that intensively, just because those are the types of games like I have on my Steam account. I did download Wolfenstein: The New Order, but I didn't feel like installing 50 gigabytes on my hard drive that had like 60 gigabytes on it, so I'll play a couple of Steam games and then uninstall them and then like play that after. So it'll be interesting to see if that game will be able to work well, because that obviously uses a lot more power than Sonic Racing Transformed or the Transformers game, the one with like the OG ones, the one made by Platinum, which was like a year ago or whatever. So that's going to be kind of weird to see if like modern games will be able to work well on it. But we'll see. Most of the games I have will be able to run fine, so I'm happy with that at least, because I got like 10 games at least, so it'll make its money back just for that.
One of my friends has that at his house, and sometimes we get some, like a little bit of slowdown, like, cause he has it all the way upstairs, and then it's beaming to the downstairs of the house or whatever, but it works pretty good. I mean, do you see frame drops and stuff like that occasionally, or how's it working?
I did, but I like spent a lot of time going through all of the settings, like basically one by one, like, okay, how does 1080 frames work for, I don't know, at least just testing basically like every setting and then reloading the same game to see like what the difference is, and then reading some stuff up online. What was the other thing? I forget. Oh, you can also put on like not system specs, but you can put like a little dialog box so you can see like what the frames are and when the frames drop and whatnot. So like I was able to test it based off of that. If I didn't have that dialogue, I wouldn't know crap. But
right on.
It's
weird.
I
don't know what his settings are. It's like it doesn't happen often. We'll just be in the middle of like, it's noticeable because like the things we played the most together are usually pretty high action type stuff, and you'll just suddenly get like, complete like know, like Matrix bullet time slowdown of the game, and then all of a sudden you jump back into it, and it's like, whoa, what the hell just happened, dude? You know, I'm not as familiar with it as he is. He's just kind of like, yeah, it happens once in a while. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know,
was
it's
it
not
like multiplayer?
Yeah.
Was it
and
2-player or like 4?
we were playing co-op 2 in the games I'm thinking of where I noticed it the most. I don't know if we were online or not. I think it was more like a beaming thing. It wasn't the online or anything. You know, it was like it was definitely to do with the like in-house transmission from the computer to the television or whatever. And they were pretty high frame rate games. I'd take a wild guess because they were like twin stick shooters, the ones we were playing that night that I'm thinking of. So, but it, you know, it worked pretty good. So it seemed promising. You know, it wasn't at all unplayable. It was good mostly. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I was fearful that it wouldn't run well. Like I was expecting there to be some sort of an amount of slowdown that would be like somewhat passable, just so for convenience purposes. But yeah, I guess just mess around with the settings a lot, and if he doesn't have his Steam Link wired, definitely get it like wired with an Ethernet cable. Because that'll probably boost it up like tenfold.
That option, but it's kind of ugly because like he talked about it, and it meant like looping a cable like through the stairwell, through the living room. You know what I mean? It was just like unsightly, and not really, you know, kind of like a long-term solution. So it was just kind of like, you know, like I think you might do it sometimes. Maybe is what he was kind of getting at, but we weren't doing it that night. So you know,
of course. I only say because like we already installed our Ethernet cable. So I was just able to plug it right in.
Right on.
But anyway, I basically only tried that out. I didn't really play many games on it because I've been playing Pokemon, and I have some mixed things about that. So I think it says I've logged in 20 hours, 17 to 20 hours, somewhere along there. I think a couple hours are probably off because I think I've left it on and like done a bunch of other stuff. I don't know how it counts it or not, if the 3DS is closed, if it still counts, whatever. But yeah, unfortunately, some of my concerns that I had with the demo, are not any different with the full game. Which I don't know, I guess you could call it my premonition, but basically I can figure out if I like something from a game. Like, oh, you can look at this. Like, I can look at some trailer and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna like that, and then I'll play it, and people will be like, no, why don't you try it first? Like, yeah, no, I know what I like, I know I'm not gonna like it, so that's what I thought about the trials, and unfortunately I was correct. So, I've played, I think I'm about halfway through, because there's like 7 trials, and I've beaten 3 of them. Somehow I have a 4th Zed crystal. I think you just pick it up from some person, I don't even remember. But yeah, I don't really like trials. They seem really forced. I don't know. I like that they try to do something different with it, because I could see them, I can understand that like, okay, this is getting kind of tired, let's switch things up. But they basically took out like a lot of battling for dumb quote unquote challenges, which is just like, walk over here, press A, walk over here, press A, beat this one guy, you're done. It's like, okay, well that sucks. There's nothing to it. I mean, Pokemon games aren't, like, usually hard, but the problem here is, they're like, oh, well, you get this, fight this super-powered Pokemon. Yeah, but it's literally just one. Like, that just means I have to press the same attack button a couple of more times. And even with, like, they're called SOS battles, where they call in, like, reinforcements. It's like, okay, it's the same thing. It's just the pre-evolution of this Pokemon, same strategy. Whereas, you know, with gym leaders and other trainers, it's like, okay, you have at least 2 or 3 Pokemon. I'm probably gonna have to switch something out and change up a strategy, because you have various Pokemon I have to handle for, and they're not all the same types, even if they share a couple. So, I'm not really liking that. The trainers you meet along the way usually have, from what I've seen, I'm on the second island, only have like 1 Pokemon in the party, which is not all that fun because you could have someone already in your first slot that's like strong against it or has a move that's super effective against it, and you hit it in like, or kill it in like 1 or 2 moves, and it's like, okay, that was not fulfilling like at all. And like same with the trials, like there's not a lot of trainers in the trials, and the challenges, like I said, don't really take much to do. You just kind of walk around and press A in designated spots when it's called for. And then just like the one big Pokemon. It's like you can beat these trials like fairly quickly, and it doesn't seem fulfilling at all. It's like, oh, I beat this. Okay?
Yeah.
It felt
Yeah,
like a
I
regular
wish-
battle. Like, the crap.
Yeah, I agree, Matt, and that's some of the concerns that I had before when I talked about it too. I think one of the other things is I wish the battle animations were quicker and more efficient, and if the battle size were bigger, because for me, when Pokemon battles are more of a mental thing. I don't want to see the fireball for the 1,000th time, and you can disable those animations, but even then, each turn just takes so long. And so when each battle only has one Pokemon, that's another 10 seconds, 15 seconds per battle of the intro animation, then an outro animation, and this and that and the other. So that's another problem I have with those just one Pokemon battles. Not just the fact that it's easy, but the fact that you waste so much time. I wish that I could just, zip through battles. It shouldn't take so long.
Yeah, I don't think I paid too much attention to how, like, fast they are. Or I probably forgot, and I might, like, play it later tonight and realize that they're long. I guess that doesn't really register so much with me because I like seeing the battle animations. Because then it's like,
Okay.
that's like half of the fun for me. Like, actually seeing
Okay.
it, so.
Because for me, I disabled all, like, the battle animations that you can disable, which is, like, the moves themselves, but, man, I wish I could just fly into battle and out of battle. Something like, if you've played dungeon crawlers and stuff like Etrian Odyssey, there's a mode where, like, it's, as fast as possible. You fly into a battle, you select moves really, really quick, you go through turns really fast, and you don't waste nearly as much time. Like, for me, I wish the option was there at least. I'd much rather, and much more particularly when you're hunting for shiny Pokemon or something, you're going battle after battle or whatever it is. Like, I wish the animations were quicker, so you could run through these encounters quicker.
Well, here's one thing I don't get about Game Freak. They like to have features like one and done features. It's like, we're gonna introduce this one great feature and we cut it. Like in Pokemon Oras, I believe it was specifically just for the remakes. I forget what it's called, but you can like search for Pokemon in the grass and see like what the next Pokemon is.
That was like the Pokeradar.
Yeah, and then they took that out. It's like, wait, what the crap? That was a cool feature. Why'd you take that out for no reason?
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense. So, like that they'll switch up the strategy. There was RNG breeding in the 4th generation. That's how I got a bunch of shinies. Now that's not a thing anymore. They're discovering new tricks, and now it's about the ally system or whatever it's called. I forgot where they call in a new Pokemon. That's how you get the shinies.
Yeah.
And now there's a thing with the gosh, what are they called? The QR codes. So that's how you can track Pokemon now too.
Yeah, I haven't really dealt with much with that. I thought that was you scan it and then you could find one of those Pokemon in your game, but I was like completely wrong, and I'm like, okay, I'm not bothering with this. But
Yeah.
I forget what else I was going to say. Something of what you were saying about. Anyway, but I don't know, a couple more things. The Rotom Pokedex, that thing is a pain in the ass. So I don't care that it talks because it doesn't really bug me or get in my way. Unfortunately, it's just, here's exposition, go to this thing even though there's a marker on the map. Okay, whatever, I don't care. But as far as I know, the only way to access the map is to touch the bottom screen, which is basically its face. And half the time when I touch the dumb thing, it either moves around and does some dance or it starts talking to me. Like, I don't understand why that's the case. Like, I touch the thing, it's like, just take me to the map. It's like, no, I'm gonna do something else. It's like, just work. Like, it's not like I'm touching the top part of its face. It's like like I'm touching the actual screen of the map. Like, did you notice that or find a way around that problem?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was the problem? Sorry.
The Pokedex on the bottom, the map screen. If you touch it half the time, it'll do like a dance or start talking rather than actually go to the map.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, yeah, I think the interface is definitely less intuitive, and I wish it was more streamlined. It is buggy to get around it. And when you move, I think the map goes away, right? Or something like that. It doesn't stick around, which is a pain in the butt. unless I'm misremembering that. Anyway, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know why that's like the way it is, but at least they got rid of HMs. That's like the one biggest feature that people have been wanting forever that they finally fixed. And not only do you not have to deal with HMs and make, your HM slave or whatever, but you actually get fly. It feels like it's pretty early in the game. It's only after like the third trial. It's like, hey, I can fly wherever now. I don't have to wait till basically the end of the game when it's useless. So it's good. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I'm mixed. I think X and Y is probably my favorite because it has gyms and it has like all that stuff, but it also has like new features and it still has a lot of great Pokemon designs. Whereas this is like, yeah, it does have good features and things, but there's a lot of stuff that bogs the game down. And I don't know, it feels pretty linear to me. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I said.
It's just like, here's a straight path.
It's
you
go
have to
from
follow.
point.
It's like,
And I think that's one of the problems with having so many different trials, because there are trials and kahunas and everything. It's just so many different things that you're always going from point A to point B to point C to point D, like it's a dotted line. Whereas in previous Pokemon entries, you have 8 gyms, and in the middle of the gyms, you have a lot more free reign, is what I usually feel. And plus with the fact that there just aren't as many new Pokemon and they're popping up a lot rare. In previous Pokemon games, I'd go out of my way to catch these new Pokemon and train them and figure out what's happening with them. And I just didn't do that in the new game because I already have all the old Pokemon.
Yeah, coming across some new Pokemon was somewhat tough. I guess one last anecdote. It was kind of funny. Some of the Pokemon, I wanted to get like the male versions or whatever, because I don't know, I'm stupid and I like specific things in colors, and I'm dumb. But, I'm like, I'll get this male Pokemon because I have a funky name for it or whatever. And then I'd spend so much time and it's like, I can't find one why? It's annoying the crap out of me. And then, the one time I wanted to get the female version, which was Salandit, the salamander, because it's the only one that evolves if it's a female. I try to find one and it's like, no, this is the rare one now. I'm like, are you kidding me? Pain in the ass. But it was funny. I spent like an hour trying to look for a crab brawler, until I finally realized that you can only find them under trees and berries. So I spent like an hour in like this one spot, like trying to search for it in the grass. I'm like, it says it's right here. I can't find it. And then I realized I made a mistake. I'm like, well, that's great. Thanks game. But I've been yammering on forever. Eli, you've been playing Final Fantasy 15. Why don't you talk about that?
I've had like a few stretches. I haven't, I don't have a ton of time to play video games these last few finals weeks and projects and whatever, but I've been staying up until like 5 a.m. on several days playing Final Fantasy 15.
Well, you do have
time, of course.
You do have time. It's just the time you would be sleeping.
Yeah, I'm just cutting it out of my healthy state, but that's okay.
You're pulling a Flea.
Yeah, I am. So Final Fantasy 15, I think is actually really good. I'm enjoying playing it a lot. It's very open, and for that I appreciate it. So far, anyway, I heard that after Chapter 9 it gets more linear. Right now I'm at Chapter 5, I think, and there's 15 chapters in total, so 2/3 of the game is supposed to be pretty open, and then after you beat the game, though, you can come back and do what you missed earlier. So I really love it because the way it works is that, there are main line missions. If you think about the RPGs that do this best, there's a path to get from the beginning to the end, and you could rush through, but you probably won't because honestly you'll be under-leveled if you just run through the whole game as fast as possible and you'll die a lot. So you have to go and you need to level up somehow, but there's so many side quests. You can take whatever way you want to level up to where you need to get to, and so I really appreciate that. And there's side quests where you go and try to hunt down like an animal that's bugging a city or whatever, or you go and just find an item for someone. And there's so many different side missions. This is what I love about RPGs, is that you've got this main path and you've got to be a certain recommended level to complete this mission. But in order to get to that level, you can pursue any sort of path, do whatever you want, defeat whatever enemies you want, talk to whatever characters you want. And that's something I really love. And so for that reason, I really like Final Fantasy 15. Of course, the story is all jumbled up and convoluted. I don't really understand it. But that doesn't really matter to me. The game is gorgeous. I love the banter in between the different characters in the game. So the dialogue's good, even though the overarching story really isn't. I love the fact that, there's no loading screens other than when you're fast traveling. So if I drive from one side of the map to the other, there will be not a single loading screen.
That's awesome.
Which is really cool. If I try to fast travel from one side of the map to the other, then I'm waiting for like 3 minutes, and that kind of blows.
Oh,
but maybe not 3 minutes, but like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But still, it's a pretty long loading screen.
Yeah.
I heard that if you are on a PlayStation 4 Pro, that it's a little bit quicker of a loading screen. But I don't know. I don't have one, so I can't test that. So, so I'm really liking it so far. I'm getting The Last Guardian in tomorrow, because I ordered that as well. So I'll probably take a little hiatus, to run through The Last Guardian really quick and trade it in to get money for it. But yeah, Final Fantasy 15, definitely recommend it. Lots of content. I got it, I pre-ordered it and got it on sale, so I paid like $35 for it, but it's probably worth 60 too. Any questions?
I don't know. Cause I've watched trailers and stuff, but I haven't watched enough to really, I don't know, have any questions.
I mean, like, I don't really have a big interest in the genre. So as an outside, like, I played Final Fantasy 1 through 3 USA, whatever the numbers are originally.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, exactly. I knew it was like Star Wars inverted or something. Like, I guess like my question would be like, my only familiarity with a modern, like, RPG is Xenoblade. Like, how much is, just in a general sense, you don't have to get in really in depth, but how much in a general sense is like a modern Final Fantasy like this one, like the way Xenoblade's, battle system and layout is? Is it kind of similar to what I played there?
Yeah, well, I'm actually really happy you brought up Xenoblade, because the comparison has been made between Xenoblade and Final Fantasy 15 specifically. I think that you could relate Xenoblade Chronicles X to Final Fantasy 15. However, Final Fantasy 15 is way better than Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Good thing you don't have Elia on this episode.
Well, first of all, Final Fantasy 15 is gorgeous. Xenoblade Chronicles X is kind of an ugly game. 15 is gorgeous. It's more... So, what I loved about Chronicles X is that there was, it had that real open world element. You could go out, run for hours, do whatever you wanted to hit the level thing. But there were too many fetch quests for my liking. It always seemed like it was like, go out, run over here, kill this many enemies, come back. Final Fantasy 15 is a lot less reliant on that sort of thing. There are more dungeons, for example. There are more unique enemies. So it wasn't like, go out, slay this, come back, go out, slay this, come back, go collect this item. There was Final Fantasy 15's mission structure. The side missions I liked substantially better. So I think that's where the game has a leg up. So yeah, that's where I see the comparisons that have been drawn, and some people, I think Emily Rogers actually tweeted about it and said Final Fantasy 15 is a better version of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I agree. I think it's less of a comparison to Xenoblade Chronicles, the original, just because Xenoblade Chronicles, the original, was a little bit more linear, because there was a lot more missions. If you remember, it was a lot less about, there are these mainline missions, go complete these things to get up to a certain level. If you've played both the games, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I think that's where you draw the distinction.
Cool. Yeah, that's like I said, I don't really play a lot of them, so it's like, I want to. Everyone else liking these games so much makes me want. If it makes sense to say, it makes me want to like them, but then I don't really want to play them. I'm always like, wow, it sounds like a really big and fun game you guys are all talking about, but I can tell. If you compare it to Xenoblade in any way, I'm like, I have respect for the game. That's a nice thing I can say about it, But it's how are you finding the time? I guess that's what another question I'd have. Like, how are you finding the time to play a game as demanding as an RPG of that level? Right now it just seems like a big sink of your time commitment.
So yeah, I mean, I'm only, it's been out for a week, and I'm like 13 hours in. So that's like average of 2 hours a day, so it's not terrible. It's been more like I put in 3 lengthy sessions. I went from Saturday night, I came home at midnight, played until 5 a.m. Friday was the same thing, and then I played like 3 other hours at the beginning of the week. So it was more of the weekend.
Right.
So,
Right.
and it's not, I don't have a ton of gaming time usually, but it was a little bit of a lull at the end of the week where I did have time. And I guess I wanted to touch a little bit on the battle system, since it is a real-time battle system in action-based. It's not like, oh, I select fire, I select this. So in that respect, it is more like Xenoblade. It does require more. It's more active than Xenoblade. Xenoblade's more like, I'm going to click this button to attack. I'm going to click this button to use a different attack. Final Fantasy 15 is more like, I'm going to, right now I'm attacking. There's also like a warp button. There's, a potion button. There's you can actively craft, magic spells during the battle. So it's a little more active than Xenoblade in its battle system, which I appreciate. But, there is just a general attack button. If you press, for me, the right shoulder button, because that's the control scheme I have, then he'll just attack. In that respect, it is like Xenoblade. Or, even The Last Story is another comparison.
Right.
Are the your team members like decently useful?
Yeah, although some of them are, they don't think rationally, because there is a block button, for example. And so one way one strategy is to block until the enemy uses an attack, and then you parry it, and then you get some good attacks in after blocking it. So that requires good timing. And your members, they're useful, but for long battles, they get stupid, and they'll stop blocking as well. And after an extended period of time, they'll just die because they're not good enough at blocking. And for me, I've had situations where all my other characters have died, and I've by myself beaten a boss battle because they're too stupid to block. So that is a little bit of a nuisance.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because you're gonna have some fun with The Last Guardian, from what I heard.
Oh, because of the stupid
yeah, the dog, the griffin dog
bird.
Yeah, like half listens to you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That'll be fun to hear about your thoughts next week.
Yeah, I'll report on that next week.
And Unoclay, what have you been up to?
I've been playing a lot of games, but I'll try to keep it in bounds. How about we do this? I'll name a game that I played this week, and you get to ask me one question about it after I give a summary of why I'm talking about it. It'll keep it more interesting than me just going on about classic video games none of you are ever going to play because retro. Okay, so the first one is Three Stooges on NES. I beat it for the first time in my life, and I've been playing that game for over 20 years, but I finally got back to it, and I beat it. Questions. One question each. Three Stooges on NES.
What genre is it?
Oh, interesting question.
I'm guessing like a platformer or a side-scroller kind of thing, but I don't know. Or a brawler.
Minigame.
That's weird.
Minigame would be the best genre that it grabs onto. It's sort of like if Mario Party was really, really simplistic, but was a linear game that you play only against the computer, where you have to press, the game starts, you're the Three Stooges, you have to save the orphanage, and so there's a series of about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 mini games, and it's sort of like Monopoly. You're going down the board, and you have to press stop on a moving icon to stop on the mini game you're going to play. And the goal is to try and pick the mini games that you can earn the most money in 30 moves, 30 days on the calendar to like save the orphanage. And there's penalty squares that take money away and do other things to you. So it's sort of it's like a mini game, board game mashup. It's not a great game, but it's kind of classic. It was on a lot of like old computers. It was on like Commodore 64s where I played it when I was a kid, and the NES port is almost identical to that. So I played that and beat that this week. Eli, any questions about Three Stooges?
I've never played it, so I presume that's why you asked. No, I have no questions. So
all right.
Thanks, though.
I do want to say, before you say something else, I'm I'm looking at the footage, and it kind of reminds me of WarioWare. Like, the mini-games aren't as involved, but, like, they're obviously longer than WarioWare mini-games, but, like, they're kind of a lot more simplistic.
Yeah, some of them are super simple.
It's like WarioWare before WarioWare.
Yeah, a little bit, and it's comedy. It's an interesting comparison, and it's a comedy game because it is Three Stooges, so there's like goofy sound effects and some would say annoying sound effects. It's got a really limited, sound bank because it is an NES game. So you get a little sick of hearing like the same sound effect of Curly going and stuff. But
do you really though?
Well, I don't. But you can, if you want more information, a good way to learn about the game, as one of my friends said, he's like, I've only ever encountered the game through the Angry Video Game Nerd video of it. So he does I forget if I've ever actually seen that one, but I think I did a long time ago, and as with everything, you can usually trust it to be kind of comical. So that was that. I beat that. That was a big moment for me because I've been playing the game since I was a kid, but I hadn't played it in years. And I sat down one night. I was like, I'm going to beat this effer. And, look, I'm trying to be nice and keep us family friendly this episode. And, so that, I won't go into detail on the next one. I put up a video on my YouTube channel, and I think Matt's going to put it in the show notes. I beat one of the hardest NES games I've beat in a long time. I'd put it top 30 ever. It's a game called Dudes with Attitude, and it's an unlicensed game, meaning that it was by, one of the companies that didn't have the gold Nintendo seal of approval when they had strict, control over what could be put on their system, and they were very litigious about it, ended up kind of losing that fight, in some ways, but it's a game that's pretty obscure, and, I'm not going to go into detail on it, but what I found interesting about this game, it's on NES, and, when you usually in the modern era, when you go to look up anything, it doesn't matter what it is, somebody's documented it to hell and back. There's a million websites or Wikipedia entries on anything. And what I found was interesting about this game is there's almost nothing online about this Dudes with Attitude NES game. And it was incredibly difficult. So I made a video of me beating it. I put it on my YouTube channel, and I think Matt will probably link it in the show notes if it's worth checking out. It's kind of funny because I just wanted to put a video out there because there's almost none of it online. The game is almost like absent from the internet. So it's kind of cool. Here's one that you can both have a question for. You've never played the game, but that doesn't mean you don't want to play the next game I'm going to list. I was playing a game on Super Nintendo called Booger Man, a pick and flick adventure. That's right. Booger Man, a pick and flick adventure. It's a platformer. It's not very good. It's kind of easy. I got to like the third world. That's like level 12. Probably on the second time I sat down to play it, I just like creamed through the levels because it doesn't have a lot of variance. You fart. You blow fiery farts, you burp, you throw boogers as your primary attack weapon.
Wow.
What question? Yeah, what question?
That's a productive method. Is there like strategy to this throwing?
Good question. Not really. Almost all the enemies are really simplistic sprites that like walk toward you or maybe jump. And so basically the main thing you have to do to not die in this game is walk slowly because it's got that classic shitty platformer problem of like enemies appear from the side of the screen so suddenly that they just run into you and take a hit off, and you only get 3 hits before you're dead. So the only strategy you really need is walk slow, flick booger. Walk slow, flick booger, and you'll do fine in Booger Man. So good question. I don't know how many levels there are, but I'm probably pretty far in the game at this point, and that's worked for me so far. I can tell you that. Only one part I died a few times in the first boss, and then the second and third boss were way easier. And the first boss, for comedy's sake, was called Hickman or something like that. It's like so offensive in some ways. It's like a hillbilly. What was his name? I have to look it up then. But it's just so, it's like this game with like juveniles. I mean,
It
what
is
did I
Booger
expect?
Man.
Yeah, it's Booger Man. Matt, any questions about Booger Man? Anything?
I can't think of a question.
Should you play it? No. There's your question. It's a crappy NES game. I that Super Nintendo game. I only played it because I found it on a list of games that people were saying are overlooked gems. I'm gonna not go back to that list because I was like, gem is a stretching the term. And I've gone on long enough, but I know Matt already covered it, so I'll just mention that I've been playing Star Fox Guard, a modern game on Wii U. It's awesome. I love it.
Awesome.
I'm pretty far into it. I'm at like rank 20 maybe as of last night or something like that.
Yeah, how many planets are you in?
I think I'm on maybe the fourth planet open up. I don't remember. I think I've been kind of finishing everything I can, like the hard levels and the extra bonus levels.
Yeah.
As they open. So I've been progressing slower along the planet list. I guess maybe I'm at the end of the third planet. I think the boss screen for the third planet opened, but then I was going back and finishing like the bonus rounds and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I know you like that a lot, Matt.
Yeah.
Did you finish everything, the full content of the game mostly?
I guess you could say mostly. Basically, the problem is once you get to the final world, which is the fifth world, there's the only way to unlock the other levels is to play online levels, and basically no one makes online levels. So, the experience you get from online levels is pitiful, even when people just put all of the enemies at one spot, so you can just beat through the level easily. You're basically never gonna finish that game. Unfortunately.
So I wanted to ask you about that. So I played a few rounds online. I had 3 wins, 3 matches, and they were all people ranked higher than me. So I started to suspect the balance was off, since for those listening that have never played Star Fox Guard, it seems like the online mode, you're given the tool set to create, it's a tower defense real-time action game, basically, right? I'm saying it right, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And you line up like the incoming attack force for another player, someone who else is going to download your level. So they're going to guard the base, and you're just going to pretty much set up the robots in some formation and timing, and then, hope that your forces win. You're not actually going to play the person. You just upload your formation. Very simplistic. And I could tell that because the people that I was fighting are higher ranked than me and had robots I don't have access, that I've never even seen yet, that I was fighting, and I was still beating their layouts. Easily. I was just okay, bang, 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 shoot all your robots dead. So now, Matt, you're saying at some point you can't level up far enough to go on without playing a lot of the online. Is that what it is? You have to grind online, is what you're basically saying?
Yeah, I think by the time I finished the game, which is every main mission and every other unlockable mission that I could obviously unlock, I think I was at level 25 or maybe 28 max. And then after that, I played a couple levels online. Some of them were I think actually built properly, effort was involved, and some was just I'm gonna put a bunch of enemies at one camera, and you can just breeze right through it. And it didn't really matter what the level was. It barely gave me experience. So I could not fathom how many levels you would have to beat to not just go up one level, but to actually go up to 50, which would be half of your levels.
Wow, how disappointing. Well, maybe you and I can play with it at some point. Maybe make teams, and then, because I searched for your name, I actually thought Matt's the only person I know personally that has this game. So I had searched for your handle, which you can do for your friends, and it said no user levels found. So I thought, okay, he didn't do this, and I was going to ask you about that. So that maybe you and I can have some fun, we can experiment with it, and then I can play the level you make 900 times and get enough XP to unlock whatever you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe, my only other speculation is did you feel when you were beating the regular levels that you did well? Did you earn adequate XP that typically it would unlock everything? Would you say that, or do you feel you didn't always get the most XP? Or I'm just wondering if there's some reason maybe that you didn't have enough naturally. It would seem really poorly balanced if they'd locked content behind an online grinding wall, if that's a way to put it,
No, pretty much feels like that's what they did. You can, I think you still, by the time, if you completely ignore the online stuff, which is basically what I did, I think I accessed at least half of the unlockable levels, something along the lines of that. So, you still get, by the time you finish the game without online, I think you unlock all of the weapons. So it's not you're going to be oh man, level 50 has that weapon I'm never going to get. I'm pretty sure you unlock all the weapons. It's just some other like minor things that you don't really see. It's just like more unlockable levels that you'll get access to.
Interesting. Well, I'll keep playing it, and like I'll get back to you on that. So yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, good stuff. I'm enjoying it anyway. Don't let anyone get put off on the game. I think the games packaged together are good. And I think that if you didn't buy either of them yet and you can find a reasonable price for Star Fox and Star Fox Guard together, I think it's a great package deal. I think both games have a lot of charm and a lot of fun stuff in them. So that's my recommendation. I've enjoyed both games greatly. I got my money's worth for sure on the Star Fox package. So there you go.
All right, cool. So that wraps up that segment. There's a couple of announcements and then we'll get into the actual news. This is actually fairly recently, like an hour or two ago. Box Boy 3 has been announced, at least for Japan next year, and it's actually getting an amiibo, which is weird.
The AAA blockbuster Box Boy is coming for his third radical adventure.
Are you pitching an NES game? Because it sounds like it.
I like Box Boy 1. I didn't play Box Boy 2, but yeah, they seem to be really enthusiastic about that game. I mean, maybe it's doing well, in the sales or something. I don't know. 1 was great,
Yeah, it's just weird that this game is getting an amiibo where the character is literally just like a box with eyes and like sticks for arms, and that's it. Like Kirby is more detailed than his character, or has more personality, I should say. It's just
it's a cute little box. Okay.
I do want to play the games. They look fun.
They're clever. They're classic Nintendo. Yeah. They're clever. You should at least try one of them and see if it's for you. They're fun little time wasters. They're very quick, pick up and play. Put back down, perfect for a handheld device. So definitely, yeah. Box Boy's a good series. So it's clear they're putting their money behind it as a new IP. So that's good. They need those. So
it sounds like the same thing they were doing with a couple of eShop games, like with Pushmo. Only I'm surprised. Actually, I don't remember when the Pushmo World, the Wii U game, launched, but would have made more sense, I guess, for that to have an amiibo, but I think it just came too early for the amiibo thing. Moving on, Retro apparently is just perpetually hiring people. They're not really making games, they're just hiring people every year, probably to evade some sort of tax break. Because that's all it seems that they're doing.
Evade a tax break?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know.
Get a tax break?
Yeah, whatever. Tax cut, I don't know. Moving on. Take-Two apparently is making... Oh, I don't really care about that. Why'd I even write that? Oh yeah, they had a video saying Nintendo rides are coming to Universal. They didn't really say much more other than that they're going to do them one at a time, which is going to be annoying. So they'll work on one park and then they'll move it to another and another.
That'll take years.
Yeah.
Japan's supposed to be done by 2020, so I can't even imagine when it'll come here.
Too late. Well, not too late in the grand scheme of things. Whatever. Too late for me to care. And that Mario and Rabbids crossover game that we heard of that sounded preposterous got a little bit more likely now. So Ubisoft had a 30th anniversary video, and in that video they showed like a bunch of Rabbids on a counter in the back, and they had 3 of them, which were like Mario, Luigi, and Toad dressed up as Rabbids. And that seems really weird unless they like actually had a partnership or something was involved, since like those haven't existed before. So I think that might lead to some credence to that game being realistic, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, I told you I would be totally happy with playing a game like that. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's
way too absurd.
It is absurd, but I meant
it's like crazy absurd in like a good way. You're like, what the heck? This doesn't make sense. I love it. But now moving on to news. So Nintendo said they're going to have the Switch event for the plebs, as I wrote at home, on January 12th at night, and then the 13th they're going to have like the press event where they go to New York and everyone spends like 5 hours hands-on, so Eli can come back to us with his impressions and rub it in all of our faces like he usually does.
Yeah, well, if I go to New York, I don't know. I'm going to be in... I actually could probably get out of school, but I don't know if I'm going to fly out to New York for that, but that would be fun.
How much do we look alike? And send me the access, and I'll be there, and it'll be fine. And I'm Eli. Hi, everybody.
One other thing before a big major topic, Nintendo explained some of the amiibo use for Breath of the Wild. Just the new ones that launched. So the 8-bit Link, you get some barrels with rupees. Ocarina of Time Link, you get random meats. I actually got that amiibo this week, so apparently I'm gonna get random meats. I really like that amiibo. Anyway, Toon Link gets random fish, and Toon Zelda gets random plants. There's about, 50 bazillion other Zelda amiibo that they haven't talked about. There's I forget, 4 or 5 Smash amiibo, and then I think there's some other ones in some other form. Oh yeah, the Breath of the Wild amiibo. So there's probably 10 other amiibo they haven't talked about. So I don't know how that's gonna work. That's gonna be insane. Anyway, moving on to the most important thing. There was a Zelda trailer this week at the Game Awards. So there was the trailer, and then they had the kind of awkward 5-minute gameplay, and then they teased us at the end of oh yeah, there's a thing at the end. Yeah, you're not gonna look at it because we're jerks. They'll probably talk about that at the January event. But yeah, I guess so. I know Unoclay didn't watch it, so it might be a bit awkward for him. But what did you think of what they showed off, Eli?
I'm sorry, I totally zoned out.
What do you think of Zelda that they showed off?
Oh, I don't know, it was a minute trailer, so I didn't even it. Were there things that you noticed that you particularly liked, Matt?
Yeah. Did you not watch the 5-minute gameplay?
Oh wait, did I not see that? I think I may have missed it. I turned it off too
that
soon.
Was that was a couple
Okay, because I saw the trailer and I'm all right, so I'm out.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it. We're a great Nintendo newscast because 2 members of the 3 that are here today didn't even watch the latest news from Nintendo on their biggest franchise.
Yeah, and I pulled out Pokemon Go and I was catching a Pokemon when Matt was talking about what we're talking about, so I completely zoned out.
No,
and at least I got a Caterpie, guys. So that's really what it's all about.
I thought you said you didn't care about catching the old Pokemon.
In Pokemon Go?
Oh, you're playing Pokemon Go?
Throwback to July, everyone.
Oh. I thought you were saying you were playing Pokemon Now and catching a Caterpie.
No, I meant Go, or I meant Pokemon Go. If I
said you're practically retro playing that game, bro.
I am. I'm bringing it back to 2016.
You fucking kids. Oh, there, I did it. Now I'm in.
You gotta drop the call. Okay, so I
just gave Clay a heart attack back there.
Matt, let me ask you, since you want to talk about it and you did see it, and because we're a Nintendo show where we should talk about, I don't know, things that are news about Nintendo in the current sense. Yeah. What's the deal, bro? Was it good? Was it bad? Did you see promise? Did you see new stuff? Did it more of the same? Where are you at? What are we thinking? How's Zelda looking in the latest trailer?
So I'll go through my list, because I can't think. There were a lot of cool things they showed off. They also teased some stuff at the end of the trailer, I think they were in a dungeon, or I forget what specifically it was. They were in some area where they fought off enemies and they have a glowing thing at the end. They're like, hey, next time maybe. You're like, jerks. But no, so there's a lot of stuff. So one of the things someone pointed out was, you actually take a lot of damage from enemies now. One of the enemies hit Link and he took 7 hearts of damage in one hit. So, that's definitely a big change from, the quarter heart that does literally nothing in basically most Zelda games. So it seems like there's gonna be a good amount of challenge. I don't know, I don't remember what enemy that was. It might have been just one really strong enemy, but still, scale-wise, other enemies are probably gonna do several hearts as well. So it's gonna be at least somewhat more difficult. So that's good right from the get-go. And it also reinforces the cooking aspect. So when they showed off the menu, they showed, oh man, I got all this food that I cooked. But it actually gives a reason for you to cook all this food, because if you're going to take 7 hearts of damage in one hit, you're going to have some food and stuff to back up with, or else you're just going to die. But some other stuff they showed off dogs. They showed off a border collie, I think it is.
Yeah, dogs.
Yeah, so I don't know. So the Wolf Link amiibo
Day
gives
went
you,
by.
yeah, it gives you a dog companion beside you. So I don't know if you don't have the amiibo, if you can get a dog in the game, because the like one dog they showed was following some other like NPC player. So I don't know if you'll be able to get a dog regardless of the amiibo or not, but they're at least in the game, so that's interesting. You can see people, villagers, like, planting stuff and, planting, like, crops and whatnot, so they probably, like, have somewhat of a life of their own. Reminds me of Majora's Mask. They did show off some towns, or at least one town. There were, like, 20 different buildings. Towns look pretty neat. They're not, like, giant or anything, but, there's, like, enough shops and things going on there. Oh yeah, one of the other moments was Link is fighting, and you see like a bunch of villagers in the background fighting like other enemies beside him. So maybe you can recruit people. I don't think it showed Link fighting in there. It did show the NPCs fighting the enemies. So like, and it wasn't like a cutscene; it was like gameplay. So there's obviously AI versus AI. So I don't know if you can actually recruit them to your team, whether it's a limited time or not, or maybe it's like Assassin's Creed Unity where like it's online, but people who show up don't look like your character. So if I'm like basically if you're playing on your console, you would look like Link, but on other people's consoles, you look like a random schmuck. Maybe that's what they're doing because I think they said they're going to have online. So that's a possibility that you can actually like play with other people online. I don't know how that would really work because you have a main quest. It's like how is that going to help you in your own adventure? I'm not sure, but that's hypothetical. They had bird people, so that was neat.
Boo!
How dare you?
I'd just rather have dogs. That's it.
Well, I mean, the bird people were like actual, I forget what the proper word is, but human-like, anthropomorphic. That's what it is. They stand on two legs. It's not really human. It's just like a bird that stands on two legs that's like 6 feet tall. But it's kind of like Wind Waker where they have the bird people, but these are obviously a lot bigger. The one thing I noticed that I don't think a lot of people pointed out is, so they did show off a female character, not her head though. I'll get into that in a sec. The female character had blue clothing. Link has blue clothing. And this
remember
bird
seeing that
Something really
picture.
funny. I'm gonna get into her head in a second.
Okay, so the female character has blue clothing, Link has blue clothing, and this bird character has like a blue scarf. So I'm thinking that maybe these people are connected, like in some sort of clan or something. Like maybe you either recruit people or they're part of the story where you make a clan to fight like the evil Ganon or whatever team or some crap, rather than it's just Link. It's like, hey, I'm on an adventure and I'm getting a bunch of people to join my cause, sort of thing. That's what I'm thinking might happen, because I don't see them using basically the same shade of blue and it not having any sort of significance. I think that'll play into the story to somewhat. I don't know how far that'll extend. But yeah, they did show off two not unmasked. I don't know. They cut off their heads, basically.
What?
Yeah, whatever. I don't know how to describe it. I'm drawing a blank. But they showed two characters. One of them was wearing a blue tunic sort of thing, kind of like Link's. It has some differences to it, like gold highlights versus white or whatever. It doesn't matter. So I don't think it's going to be the female Link thing, because Enuma already talked about that. They tried it. It didn't work, so there would be no reason to have an unplayable, like, gender-swapped character. Like, that wouldn't really make sense. So it's either Zelda or a new character. And it looks like they're holding, like, the Sheikah tablet thing, so they probably have some significance to the story. Or maybe it's just... maybe it's someone who doesn't really matter too much. It's just like maybe some random schmuck, because like in a lot of games, Link will have like civilian clothes. So it could just be like, he starts off with normal clothes, but maybe when he gets his blue clothes, it's part of like I said, a clan or some sort of town. So this person with these clothes, like, gives him these special clothes and also gives him like, I don't know, some other stuff and has some sort of significance. So, I don't know. That's my thoughts on that. They did have another character they didn't show the face of. You can't even tell if it's, male or female, so who knows who the heck that is. It was a different type of clothing. I have no hypothesis on that, because you can't really make much of it. Other than that, they make the Arthur fist, and people were making the memes out of that, so that's kind of funny. I think, Eli, you wanted to say something, but I was yammering on.
No, that's okay. I already forgot. I wanted to bring up the news that we haven't talked about yet, which is THQ Nordic.
Okay, yeah, what about them?
So
They bought a
had
ranch
news
of
that
useless IPs.
well, they announced that they have 2 Switch games in development right now, and which is a big deal. And yeah, it's a bunch of stupid IPs, but some of them aren't so stupid. And one of the things that they announced is that there's
I just meant the new IPs they bought like today that it went through, not the other ones that they have, because they do have some good ones.
Nintendo Everything had an interview with them, and they asked them about 2 franchises in particular, Deadly Creatures and De Blob. And when they asked about Deadly Creatures, they said, well, we hope there's a future for it, but it just had a setback, so we don't really know what that is. But they asked about De Blob, and it sounded like they have a De Blob game in development. They're like, is there a future for De Blob? And there was just like, yes. So I feel like that would be the perfect game to bring to Switch. The De Blob franchise started originally on the Wii, a Nintendo platform, and I don't know if you guys played the De Blob, but it was a really good Wii game. Like, I really loved it. It was enjoyable. I played through the entire thing, and if the Switch seems kind of like the perfect console to bring a revival of De Blob to, so I'm really hoping that that's a game they have for it.
Yeah, I read something where they said the games they're bringing will fit the Nintendo audience, so that seems like it would. I did play, I don't think I finished De Blob, but I did play it for a bit, and I just really love the music aspect. So basically, Unoclay, you have this blob of ink, and you have to paint the city, and each color is a different instrument. So let's say, I don't know, blue is trumpet or something. The one part of the track in the song, like in the background music, will be a trumpet, and if you switch to orange, maybe it'll turn into a saxophone or something. So I really like that change in the music. I think that was really cool, just for that aspect alone.
Yeah, it's one of the only significant Wii games I think I didn't play, because it never really appealed to me that much, but I remember the reviews being kind of 7s and 8s for it. But I would give it a chance, because, trusting you guys that it was decent, and having heard that from other people seems, like a possible, it's got an IP, it's got a couple installments that they've had a chance to refine the game. So yeah, sounds interesting. Sounds promising.
Cool. Was there anything you wanted to hear about Zelda? I think I went over all my points. There's airships. You'll probably be able to board them. It looks like the bird owns the airship.
I need to know. I need to feel better about Zelda. I need to know that there's definitely going to be Gorons and Zoras. There's Gorons and Zoras. Because I couldn't handle it. Because Zelda came out and didn't have familiar characters that I could latch onto and know exactly how they're going to behave as soon as they come on the screen. Please tell me. Gorons, Zoras, confirm.
I think I saw Goron. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. I don't think I've seen Gorons yet. I know Zoras haven't shown up at all.
You're killing me.
Well, they haven't shown much like mini water segments or anything like that, so like they wouldn't really pop up. I don't know if there's Deku scrubs because they have the Koroks. There's some timeline reasons where like I think that one involved into the other, so Koroks is probably like the leaf race. I swear I saw Goron at one point, but maybe I'm confusing that with Skyward Sword. I think I am.
If it's not apparent to the listeners, like, I could really do without them, like, just always having the same characters in every Zelda 3D that comes out. Like, I actually genuinely do not like the Gorons. Like, I think they're the most annoying, like, kind of generic, boring. Oh my god, like, just the sound makes me be like, roll my eyes a little bit. Like,
Now I want them for
I
that.
really like them. Like, I don't even like the idea of the timeline, because I feel like it locks them into keep, like, going back to the same stuff, and I'd rather have Zelda become more like Final Fantasy's universe, where they don't have to connect at all, where it's just like, here's a completely new idea, you know, rather than always having to stick with the familiar. But hey, you know, I'm gonna play it. I'm looking forward to it tentatively, especially now that you said there are no Gorons or Zoras confirmed yet. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying confirmed, just from what they've shown.
Sure. Confirmed so far, not non-confirmed so far. I'm psyched.
Semi-confirmed.
They've non-confirmed Goron so far, so I'm still psyched for now. So good stuff. No, it sounds promising. I'm looking forward to it. Although, I'm gonna definitely be waiting to play it on Switch. If they split the release of it, like, you know, could be possible, I'm gonna definitely be waiting to play it on Switch if it's clear that that's gonna be the better version. So we will see. So.
Cool.
Yeah, but it might be like Twilight Princess, like where the GameCube was better because it was made for the GameCube.
Here's Mike coming right at the end of the podcast. So
there's a gust in the room, guys.
So I don't think we're going to be on here much longer, but Eli's got to head out, so we'll see you later,
So,
Eli.
why don't you tell them who you are?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Paul Salon. Love you all. Have a good Nintendo week.
See ya.
Later.
Good night.